here from My Purpley Life. Long time no see, but I'm back to do a video on something that I have been very passionate about lately, and a lot of you have been requesting for me to talk about how I write calligraphy. So I'm going to talk about this. I didn't want to do this video until I actually attended my first class. I've never actually taken a class on calligraphy before, and I'm going to be doing that next week, but I'll do a separate video on that later on and talk to you guys about what I learned on that class and hopefully give you guys some better tips. So I'm going to kind of just give you guys a generalization of what I know and what I've been doing. You guys can give me tips if I'm doing something wrong. We can all learn together. The one thing that I do want to talk about is that modern calligraphy is a little bit of a modern take on some classical styles, which are copperplate and Edwardian style. So if you guys want to look up a little bit about those classic styles, maybe you are into that more of the classic style rather than the modern calligraphy, then you should definitely research about it. There's a great site called IAMPETH.com, and it's basically the International Association website for calligraphers and handwriting. So it's a great resource for all the different types of calligraphy, as well as let me see, there's guidelines on there as well, so that if you did want to practice, you can print out these guidelines and, you know, have at it, start trying it out to see if it's something that you may like. Dr. Joe Vitolo is sort of like the master calligrapher, and he does some great videos that are on that website that you can check out as far as techniques go and everything. Another book that I want to mention, I've mentioned it before but very briefly, is by Molly Thorpe. Molly Thorpe. I totally messed up your name. I'm so sorry, but I love your book. So this is the book. It's called Modern Calligraphy, and it's a great book for those of you who want to get started in calligraphy, as well as for those of you who are already doing calligraphy and need a little bit more information as far as advanced calligraphy for if you want to do, let's say, your own wedding invitations, or for parties, like party favors, and writing letters and things like that. So she goes a more in depth of some advanced stuff, but there's definitely, like, she even includes like some lettering in there so that you can practice as well. So it's a really, really great book. A lot of the things that I'm going to talk about is gonna be from that book. So what is calligraphy and how do you do it? Well, you're going to be needing a couple tools here, which I'm gonna talk about. And another word, instead of saying calligraphy, or another term for it, is called pointed pen. Some of you are like, well, like, isn't that the type of thing that people used to do back in the day with feathers and quills and write on fancy paper? Well, they still do, but now it has a little bit of a modern take to it. There's some modern tools that we use now, so you don't have to use quills or feathers, but you can certainly still do that if you wanted to and be really authentic that way. But this is what I'm doing, and a couple other people that I know are doing it this way. There's also Instagram. If you are on Instagram, Instagram is a great resource to see what people are doing and give you guys ideas. Basically, this type of calligraphy is going to be your own style. You're going to make it your own, and you're not copying, and there's no actual technique to it. It's just really beautiful writing. Another thing too is that it's not really like your handwriting, like printed writing. It's a little bit more pretty and and that's because you are actually drawing these letters. So what you're going to encounter when you're doing calligraphy, I learned this, is that you're going to have a lot of typos because you're actually concentrating on drawing out these letters. So you are going to experience a lot of typos, but not to fret. That's why I'm here to help you, and we're here to help each other. I'm not exactly a pro at this, so if any of you have some tips for me, please leave them down below in the comments. I would be very grateful. So, essentials. You're going to need some nibs. Now, I actually started calligraphy when I was back in elementary school, and I bought one of those, I think it's by Manuscript, and it came with some markers with italic markers, and that type of calligraphy is called italic or Gothic. So that's not really what I wanted to do, and then I found out about pointed pen. Now what I mean by pointed pen is that you're going to be needing these nibs. Some of you are maybe familiar with nibs. Here's one right here. And let me just show you guys a couple. Some are different colors. But some of you may be familiar with nibs from fountain pens. Now, if you're not into fountain pens and you are not familiar, that's another type of nib there, but that's a fountain pen nib. The difference between fountain pen and pointed pen is that the nibs are very different. When you're writing calligraphy, you're going to need a little bit of you're going to need a flexible nib. Now most fountain pens out there are not flexible. They're very stiff, and they're just like regular pens, but you can replace them with the types of ink that you would like. Now the ink that fountain pen uses is maybe something like this. You guys are maybe familiar with this. This is Noodler's black ink, and calligraphy ink is going to be different. Let me grab my kit right here. Let me see. This is the black that I use, but I would definitely recommend Sumi ink, which is I believe it's a Japanese ink. You may have to order that. I haven't really seen them in any other hobby or craft stores, but this is the one that I use. This is, the writing's already off, but it's Higgins Eternal Black ink, and that's what I have been using. This is another one. It's non-waterproof. It's Higgins Fountain Pen India ink, and the one once you get a little bit more advanced, you can start using watercolors. You can start using gouache. Now, if you guys don't know what gouache is, it comes in a little tube. I'm trying to get this out. Well, this is a gold one. So if you want to, let's say, venture into gold writing or white, then you buy these little tubes. This one is by Winsor & Newton gouache, designer's gouache. Each one of these little babies costs about $6 or $7. So you need to make sure you practice before you start actually using the expensive stuff. You can certainly try the cheaper gouaches that they sell at Michael's or Hobby Lobby or craft stores. But anyways, okay, so that's ink, and that was nibs. So you don't want to use fountain pen ink with point pen because it's not gonna work. Fountain pen ink is made to be very thin and sort of watery so that it flows nicely out of the pen. So if you're doing calligraphy, you can do it with a fountain pen, but you're going to need a fountain pen that has a flexible nib, such as I have here a Noodler's Ahab. Yes. And this one, when you press down, let's say you're doing a downstroke, it is going to open up the tines of the nib to give it that variance between the lines. So you're going to have thin and thick lines, which is what calligraphy writing is going to look like. Another one that you want to try out is Noodler's Creeper, Nib Creeper. This is my purple one, of course. But nothing compares to the actual pointed dip pen, because those nibs just don't flex like these do. But they're great for practicing because the ink is constantly flowing. So the thing with pointed pen is, another term for it is dip pen. So these are what you're going to need. These are the nib holders. So I'm just gonna show you guys an example here. I'm gonna take my nib, one of my nibs. This is the Zebra G, one of my favorites. So it looks like this. Focus for me. Okay. So you're going to take this nib, you're going to take one of your holders here, and you're going to attach it to the inside, like so. So you see how I just pushed it in like that? Now it's going to be up to you as far as how far out or far in you want the nib to be. You're going to have to figure out when you're writing if it's comfortable for you or not. But basically this is your pointed pen. It's just gonna be like this. Now, certain styles you're going to want to practice with a different type of nib holder, and this one is called an oblique nib holder. So let's say again you want to do that classic Edwardian or copperplate style, then it's best to write with this type of pen, the oblique, because it's more of an angle type writing. So when you're writing, instead of pointing it, you know, regularly, this is already at an angle. So you don't really have to angle yourself when you're writing. But that's just what I found when you are using that type of writing. My lighting is going away. Okay, hopefully you guys can still see me now. It's getting dark. This sun's going down. But you can find these at I've seen this one, or is it this one, at Michael's, and it comes in a kit with by Leonard and Company, and it looks like this. But it does come in a kit like this. Comes with like I think 5 different types of nibs, so you can figure out you know, which kind of nibs you like. But that's a great starter kit. I think it was about $12 or so, and it comes with a little bottle of ink. I think it looks like this, or this is the Speedball one. But some of them do come with ink. But the thing you want to look for when you're buying these kits is it suitable for copperplate writing? I don't have it with me, but it will say on the Leonard one, it will say for copperplate writing. So those nibs are specifically for that type of writing. Again, this is my writing sample, so if you want to write like this, that's what you look for. Let me see what else. Where to buy nibs. Let's say you don't want to buy the kit, you just want to save your money and buy the correct tools instead of figuring it out. So you will need your, let's say you want to buy the oblique nib holder and some other nibs. Let me see, what are my favorite nibs? I have a bunch. Whoop! I keep them all in that little tin box. I've purchased my nibs and my holders from Blick. It's an art supply store. The one that I went to was the one in Pasadena. I don't know where some other ones are, but my favorite ones that I like to use are the Nico and the Zebra G nibs. You're going to have to figure out, oops, sorry, if you write are a heavy-handed writer or a light-handed writer. If you're more of a heavy hand, then I think you would enjoy these nibs, because they're a little bit more stiffer but still produce that type of writing with the variation in the lines. Another thing too is, what am I gonna say? Oh, it depends on the type of paper you use as well. So if you're using a little bit more rougher paper like this one, this is craft paper, it has a lot of fibers in it, then you're going to need a little bit of a sturdier nib. Let's say you're using really nice paper such as Bristol paper, then you might want something with a that's a little bit more finer and will flex a little bit easier on the paper, such as, which one is this? I can't even say the name anymore. The Brause, B-R-A-U-S-E. Oh geez, I don't know which one this is. Some of them, the writing is off already. I know it's something extra fine something. But, see, it's a little teeny tiny thing. And let me see, what else is my favorite? Ooh, this one's my favorite. This is the Hunt Imperial. This is one of my favorites as well. Let me see. I think I have two of those. Oh no, that's a different one. Let me see, what else do I like using? Yeah, see, I have two Hunt Imperials. I really like those. And then there's also the Blue Pumpkin, or also known as the Blue Steno, and it looks like this. That one's a nice one as well. So just a couple of those. If you don't have a Blick near you, you can also order them online. Just get a little container and have them all in this little container at paperinkarts.com. Let me see if I can pull it up. Paper and Ink Arts, or paperinkarts.com, and they have everything there. They have this book that I mentioned, they have the nib holders and the nibs there as well. What else will you need? Another thing is, when you get new nibs, it's just like a fountain pen. They come from the factory kind of greased up so that they don't rust when they get to you. So what you're gonna need to do when you get your freshly new nib is you're going to want to clean them. You can just wash them with warm water, or a lukewarm water, and a little bit of dish soap, and you know, just wash them out, get that oils out, because when you start writing with them, if you don't wash them right away and you just start writing with them, the ink won't stick onto the nib, and you will see that it'll be just very slippery. Some other ways that you can clean off the nib, back in the day, I don't know anybody that does this except for maybe very experienced calligraphers, but they use their own spit to remove the residue off the nib, or they suck on the nib, but I wouldn't recommend doing that. Another way that I've heard... Yes, my darling? One second. Okay, so where were we? Another way to clean your nibs is by actually getting a candle and running the nib over the flame, and that will burn off any of the residue. I also don't recommend that way, because if you are not careful, you can actually distort the nib that way. Another tip that someone told me was to actually spray some Windex on it and clean it off that way. For me, that seems to work really, really well. So the dish soap with water, or Windex, or window cleaner if you don't have Windex. So that's something you need to know when you start out. Paper. So it's very hard with these inks. They do bleed through regular type of paper, but paper to practice on is just use regular copy paper. I do recommend a little bit of a thicker paper, such as, I think it's 24 pound, or is it 70 GSM weight paper. Seems to be really well. I have practiced on my Luctrum notebook paper, and that's about 70 grams. Let me think, what else? Bristol paper, again, is a really nice, very smooth, slick paper. Clairefontaine paper, I think the Triumph paper is really nice and smooth to practice on. Nice quality paper there. And these papers are available at gouletpens.com. Let me think, what else? And ink as well. Oh, let me just go back to paper. While you're practicing, not on really nice paper, but just practicing on the copy paper, you can also practice on tracing paper. I have some Blick tracing paper that I got. Any tracing paper will help you get used to writing out these letters. So what you will do is you get your paper, your tracing paper, and print out these alphabets, and don't be afraid to trace. At the beginning I was like, oh, you're cheating because you're tracing, but it's okay, you're learning the letter forms and all these curvatures and downstrokes and upstrokes. So get your tracing paper and just place it on top of there. Get a pencil, not your pen and nib, and just trace it over with a pencil, just so that you get used to the writing style. You may even find something, one of the styles that you like using a lot. You can practice with the tracing paper with one line, and then once you're comfortable with that, then move on to a better quality paper and see how you do on that paper as well. Another thing that you will need besides your paper, your nibs, your inks, is pencils. I mentioned that you will be tracing with pencil, but you don't want to just use any regular pencil. You want to use, let me see, a really nice quality pencil, such as Derwent, or I think Staedtler, I forget what they're called now, has a really nice pencil that is available on jetpens.com. They have really nice pencils there as well. I just can't remember the names right now, but I will post them, everything down in the info bar, so be sure to check that out. You'll also need pencils to draw out straight lines, because let's say you're writing on a card or something like that, or an envelope. You will need to draw lines. Don't be afraid to draw lines, but you will need to draw lines so that it comes out straight and you have some basis for it, you know, writing really pretty, and it turns out pretty and not crooked and everything. So you will need a very soft pencil, one that will erase very easily and won't leave line marks, so people won't know that you wrote lines on the paper. As well. So I think, is it called there's like different types of pencils. Again, this book is really good at talking about the pencils. I think it's a 2B and a 7B or an HB. Those are the ones that I know you will need. Let's see what else. There's a proper way to actually hold the pen. Some people, I don't know, like my husband, he holds a pen very funky, and I don't know how he writes, but he has really nice writing, but some people just have their own way of writing with a pen. You don't want to hold it too high up. You don't want to hold it too far down. Let me put a nib on here so you guys can see how that looks like. But you want to hold it properly so that it's easy to write. Otherwise, you may get hand cramps. So there's already grooves on this pen here. So I'm going to put, scoot my hand right there. So, I don't know if you guys can see that correctly, but I'm letting it rest on my middle finger right there. And then I'm gripping it like kind of like a chopstick with my 2 fingers on those grooves right there. So that's how I write with a pen. There's also a way not to, you don't want to curve your hand, you want it to be straight, and move the paper, not your arm all funkified. Move the paper so that it's comfortable for you, for whatever style that you're writing for. Some other techniques. Let me think. Oh, to practice, find a nice quote, find your name, find a nice music lyric or music line that you like. Practice your address. Those are some things that will help you just start finding your style of writing and everything. Your kids' names, your family's names, your name. Start with that as well. I think that's pretty much it. If you guys have any other questions, please ask me. Don't be afraid. I'll try to answer them as best as I could. That's pretty much it. So I will see you all next time with an update on my calligraphy class, and I'll talk to you later. Bye bye. Thanks for watching.